The endless void stretched in every direction, a vast expanse of nothingness. It was neither cold nor warm, neither welcoming nor hostile. It simply was an eternal blank canvas, waiting for something or someone to leave a mark of existence. In this void, a solitary figure floated, shrouded in shadows. Their form was indistinct, a mere silhouette against the infinite darkness. A whisper, soft and uncertain, echoed in the void. "Where am I?" The words pulsed in the stillness, reverberating through the emptiness, as if the void was contemplating the question. The figure remained motionless, their thoughts drifting aimlessly like a leaf caught in a gentle breeze. Everything is changing. The thought, more a feeling than a coherent sentence, passed through the figure's mind. The void, once silent and unyielding, shifted subtly. It hummed with faint energy, a vibration that was imperceptible but undeniable. These planes are empty. The figure's thoughts continued, a slow realization dawning on them. There had been nothing here before except a vast, silent expanse. But now there was movement. There was change. The figure's consciousness sharpened, grasping at the threads of awareness that were beginning to unravel the mystery of their surroundings. A sudden spark of realization ignited within them. Life, even here. The void was no longer a place of pure emptiness. It was coming alive in its own strange, muted way. As the figure floated, glimmers of light appeared in the darkness, faint at first, distant stars awakening from a long slumber. With each passing moment, they grew brighter, more numerous, each one a tiny seed of potential in the surrounding void, seeded among oblivion. The thought formed clearly in the figure's mind, the words carrying a weight of truth. This void, once barren, now held the seeds of something greater. The potential for growth was all around them, these tiny glimmers, each one pulsating with a life force that had yet to fully awaken. A tiny seed floated past the figure's face, glowing softly. It was small, almost insignificant, but there was something compelling about it. The potential for growth, the figure's mind repeated, as if trying to imprint the idea onto their consciousness. The seed pulsed with energy, a rhythm that resonated with the figure's own heartbeat. Lies dormant. It was waiting, just like they were, waiting for the perfect moment to hatch. The figure reached out slowly, their hand trembling slightly as it neared the seed. There was a sense of anticipation, of something on the verge of happening, yet held back by the invisible constraints of time. The seed remained still, hovering just beyond reach. The figure teetered on the edge of an awakening, poised between the silence of the void and the emergence of something new. "I have awakened." The words, though spoken only in the figure's mind, carried a revelatory weight. They had been asleep, but now they were awake. It was as if they had been shaken from a deep slumber, thrust into a world shrouded by familiar alienation. The figure's hand recoiled, a reflexive response to the realization that something profound had just occurred. It feels as if something had. The thought trailed off, incomplete, as the figure struggled to grasp the elusive memory dancing at the edge of their awareness. Had me in their mask. The idea flitted through their mind, a fragment of something larger, something important. But what? The figure tilted their head, as if the change in perspective might help them see more clearly, might bring clarity to the fog of their thoughts. The environment around the figure grew darker, the seeds of potential fading slightly in response to the figure's internal turmoil. But if the mask is gone, the figure turned, their gaze drawn to an ancient eagle mask floating in the void. It disintegrated before their eyes, crumbling into dust that was quickly swallowed by the surrounding darkness. "I must have completed the task," the figure concluded, though the certainty of this realization was accompanied by a profound sense of loss. The surrounding seeds glowed again, their light pulsing more vibrantly this time, encouraged by the figure's acceptance of this new truth. The flow begins to grow. A subtle current moved through the void, gentle at first, but growing stronger with each passing moment. The seeds drifted along the current, guided by the unseen force. Its motion pushed the figure forward from the void onto a solid white platform. The cold surface of the platform sent a shiver cascading through the figure's body. Where there had only been nothingness, now there was form. The first steps are always the hardest, the figure thought, hesitating for a moment before inching forward. The current, once gentle, now nudged them along, urging them to follow the path that was beginning to unfold before them. A newfound sensation met each step forward. In the void, the figure was weightless, but weight hid behind every falling foot in this place. And so, step forth, the figure took another step, their gait becoming more automatic as the current grew stronger. The hash sown. The words echoed in the figure's mind, cryptic, with an air of meaning that eluded the awakened agent. The figure noticed a pattern, a sequence that needed to be followed. Mere moments ago, the figure had been suspended in blackness. Now clarity began to emerge, an unfolding path, the light revealing the way. The figure stopped for a moment, allowing the coolness of the blocks to wash over their feet. When they investigated the horizon, the light was stronger now, and it burned their eyes. There had been nothing before. Now everything had a radiance to it. There was much to absorb, even in a simple world that was only defined by the blocks under their feet. Yet even the wind was new, a sensation never felt before. The figure walked along the path. Where am I? They wondered aloud for the first time. The sound of their own voice made them stop abruptly. That sound. It came from me, the figure thought. But where did I come from? Towards the light, I go. The figure took another step forward, the faint light in the distance growing brighter. The figure trudged along the blocky path suspended above the vast void that surrounded them. The light had a source, otherwise how could they justify the winding road that rendered solidity underneath their feet? In stark contrast to the void, light was warm, inviting a sense of safety as they moved forward. Then, without warning, the light vanished, plunging everything into eternal blackness, and the figure stumbled and tripped. The sudden loss of the guiding light disoriented the figure, who was not used to walking in the dark. Where did the light go? Before the figure could react further, the surrounding void erupted with life. Tendrilic vines shot out from the base of the pathway, sending subtle ripples through the darkness, latching onto the figure's limbs with a fierce grip. The vines twisted, slamming the figure into the ground with inescapable force and pinning them down. The figure struggled, gasping for breath. Each motion only caused the relentless tendrils to tighten their grip. "What's happening?" the figure whimpered, strained by the increasing pressure of the vines. Their bodies shook, sending vibrations into the surface below. Seconds passed, and the figure's vision blurred the darkness all-encompassing. Their eyes watered, and slowly their body fell limp. The figure had awakened and been shaken from the void, only to return to its cold embrace. Unknown passage of time. For how does one calculate the temporality of the void? The world reformed around the figure, slowly at first, then all at once. They found themselves lying alone in a barren, unrendered landscape. The ground was hard and cracked, the dry earth lifeless. Above, the sky was an endless expanse of gray, with no sun, no clouds, just a dull, oppressive atmosphere. A raspy echo called out from an unknown point of origin, startling them from their reverie. "Get up, there is someone you need to meet." The figure rolled to their side and pushed themselves upright, their movements sloppy and uncertain. All the figure could see was desolation, a landscape without texture as far as the eye could perceive. A large white block jutted from the gritted surface of the earth, and the figure stopped. For the first time they saw their own reflection in the glossy plane of the block. Pale white skin covered their confused, weathered face. When they met their own eyes, a pulse of uncertainty passed over them as they searched for answers in the distorted image. Who were they? Why were they here? "Who are you?" the figure asked, their voice trembling with the weight of the unknown. A shimmering mist settled over the space, and two shadowy forms emerged, their features obscured, giving no hint of their true nature. They flickered in silence, their presence never still. The weight of their gaze sent a shiver down the figure's spine, although no eyes could be seen. "We could ask you the same thing." The shadows hummed, calm yet disconcerting. In the dullness of the barren plain, the shadows' whispers were sticky, the sound wrapping around the figure's shaky form. The figure tried to form an image of the shadows in their mind, but the forms were fluid and indefinable. They looked around, trying to get an idea of where the shadows had come from, but found nothing, not a single sliver of understanding. A heavy pit formed in the figure's stomach. How could they answer the shadows if they had no idea who they were? Young one, the shadows mused with twisted authority, this path has been set for you alone. Were the shadows toying with them? Why? What did they know? The call of the storm? Destiny is etched into stone. The shadows hissed in unison. The figure looked at the shadows, trying to understand the cryptic message. Who am I? The figure's voice echoed in the barren landscape. Inside, the figure was confused, lost, their mind unable to grasp the situation. The question filled them with a desperate need for answers. The shadows remained silent, their forms never solidifying, never remaining the same. The access from before I woke is blocked, the figure muttered. A ripple of distortion passed through the landscape, the ground beneath them shifting like water, destabilizing the already tenuous reality. Dread filled the figure's mind. They couldn't remember anything. Before the void, there was only blackness. Had they even existed before? How could they know? There is distortion in the water, the figure thought, their mind grappling to make sense of the chaos that filled every fleeting signal. They clenched their fists as they struggled to remember. I have forgotten why I walk. A quiet shame flooded the figure's being. It felt wrong. A vital part of them was missing. But what? Something that defined their very existence. But what? The shadows glided closer to the figure, encircling them, the sound of their message penetrating the chaos rising in the figure's mind. Remember who you are, before pollution stole your soul. When the figure looked up, they felt an air of truth in the shadow's words, but that truth was lost on them. How do I do that? The figure thought, when I have no idea where I am, no clues or hints of where I am supposed to go. To remember, you must step. The shadow's response caused the figure to freeze. He hadn't said anything to the shadows. No, he had only thought it. The figure looked down at their feet, then forward. The landscape ahead rippled, the distortion stretching out, redefining the terrain's texture. The figure blinked. Where once there was only desolation, the ground began to mold into a defined road that stretched into the distance. Towards purpose, you will grow. The shadow's whispers were so certain, but how could they be? The figure couldn't help but think these shadows knew something they didn't. Their words were laced with promise, but the pit in the figure's stomach hinted at the opposite side of the coin. They had no idea where they were, who they were, or what they were doing. Still, there was no turning back. Where would they go? They had caught only a glimpse of light before being cast back into darkness, only to find themselves here. And where was here? The figure took a deep breath and closed their eyes. Who am I? Where am I? I suppose I step, the figure said, their voice steady, resolved. The blocks echoing beneath their feet, they took their first fleeting footsteps onto the path to begin the journey that had been laid out before them. The shadows shimmered in the cool air as the figure began to walk into the unknown horizon. The path forward, young one, will always lead you home. The words echoed in the figure's mind as they walked, a guiding light in the surrounding darkness. The space fell into silence, a stillness that permeated every atom, and in this moment, there was nothing else to do, nothing except the next step. The only way now was forward. They had to know who they were. They had to.